Welcome to our channel, your gateway to the most spine-chilling tales and unnerving true stories. Today, we present a true story. The phone from the grave, the unseen caller. The soft glow of the moon filters through the cracked blinds, casting a somber light upon Emma's apartment. The walls are adorned with remnants of her life with Alex, photos of their laughter-filled moments, the half-empty bookshelves that once mirrored his eclectic tastes, and the lingering scent of his cologne. The silence is a stark contrast to the vibrant life they once shared. Emma, a young woman with haunted eyes, sits on the edge of her bed, her knees drawn up to her chest. She clutches a disposable phone, the kind you can buy from a gas station, in her trembling hands. The phone is cold, unnaturally so, as if it carries the chill of the grave. It's a stark contrast to the warmth that once filled this room. Alex was always fascinated by the unknown. He'd say, "Death is just a horizon we haven't yet crossed." A montage plays out. Emma and Alex, her boyfriend, laughing together, sharing secrets, exploring the city's hidden corners. Night, the phone buzzes to life, jolting Emma out of her sadness. The screen lights up with a message from an unidentified number. "You're not alone." Her heart skips a beat. She quickly dismisses it as a prank or a wrong number. But the next message sends a shiver down her spine. "Find the answers in the box." Emma tiptoes into the living room, her eyes scanning the space like a detective searching for clues. She opens a dusty box in the corner, labeled Alex's stuff. Inside, she finds a USB drive, a handful of old notes, and the keys to an abandoned storage unit. The unit is a time capsule of Alex's life before theirs, a collection of his forgotten projects and obsessions. The walls are lined with gadgets and tech equipment, the floor a maze of wires and half-finished inventions. In the center of the room, a large metal contraption looms, surrounded by candles, a tapestry with arcane symbols, and a leather-bound journal titled The Nexus. Emma, now engrossed in the journal, reads aloud, "We've made contact with the other side. The veil is thinner than we ever dared to dream." Her eyes widen as she realizes the gravity of what she's stumbled upon. The phone buzzes again. The message reads, "The bridge is almost complete." Emma inserts the USB into her computer. The screen flickers to life with a video of Alex and three friends, huddled around the same metal contraption. They're speaking in hushed tones. Their faces a mix of excitement and fear. "This is it, guys. The moment of truth." The group performs a ritual, the camera shaking as they chant in an ancient language. The contraption hums to life, and suddenly, a flicker of static fills the screen. A distorted face, not quite human, not quite Alex, appears for a split second before the video cuts out. The phone rings, the shrill sound piercing the silence. The caller ID reads, "The Unseen." She answers, a tremor in her voice. "Emma, Alex, is that you?" A static-filled voice, echoing with a distant sadness, responds. Static voice, "I'm so sorry, Emma." Emma, sleepless and desperate, decides to confront the group members. She finds their names scribbled in the journal: Marcus, Rachel, and Liam. Marcus, a former physics prodigy turned conspiracy theorist, is the first to break under her insistent questioning. Marcus says, "We were just playing around, trying to reach beyond, but it got out of hand." Rachel, an enigmatic artist with a penchant for the macabre, shares her part of the story. Rachel says Alex believed he could harness the energy of the dead to communicate, to bring them back, but he went too far. Liam, a jaded skeptic turned true believer, is visibly shaken. Liam says, "We lost control. Something came through that wasn't Alex. Something malevolent." The phone rings again. The static voice whispers, "I need your help." Emma, driven by a mix of fear and love, decides to recreate the experiment. She sets up the contraption in the living room, the candles casting eerie shadows on her face. The contraption hums to life. The room fills with a blinding light, and a figure emerges, shrouded in shadow. The figure steps into the light, and Emma gasps. It's Alex, but his eyes are sunken, his skin cold to the touch. "Emma, you have to let me go. It's not safe here." Emma is torn. She wants to believe it's Alex, but the fear in his eyes tells a different story. The static voice from the phone speaks through Alex's lips. "You're meddling with forces you can't comprehend." Emma is overwhelmed. The room feels colder, the air thicker. The door to the apartment slams shut. The static voice grows louder, more demanding. "You're opening the door to the abyss." The contraption starts to malfunction. The lights flicker, and the walls tremble. Alex's body contorts in pain. Emma makes a desperate choice. She grabs the journal and recites an incantation she found scribbled on a page. The room goes silent. Alex's body relaxes, and the static voice fades away. The light dims, and the contraption powers down. Emma cradles Alex's lifeless body, tears streaming down her face. The sun peeks through the blinds. The contraption is gone, leaving only a faint scent of ozone in the air. The phone, silent now, lies on the floor, a harbinger of the horrors she's unleashed. The door to the apartment opens. Rachel and Liam stand in the doorway, their faces ashen. Rachel says, "Emma, what have you done?" Emma sat in her dimly lit apartment, surrounded by the silent whispers of their shared memories, staring at the disposable phone on the coffee table. It had been a week since she found it hidden in Alex's drawer, and with each day, the messages grew more insistent. The digital screen was a gateway to a world she had never known, one that Alex had kept shrouded in secrecy. Her heart pounded in her chest as she picked it up, the cold plastic a stark contrast to the warmth of his embrace, which now felt like a distant memory. The latest message read, "Emma, they're close. You must find the lab. The truth lies with Marcus." Her eyes searched the room, desperate for answers that lingered just beyond her grasp. The walls were adorned with photos of their happier times, yet now they seemed to mock her ignorance of the shadowy world Alex had inhabited. The rain outside mirrored her tumultuous emotions as she drove to the address she had painstakingly extracted from Alex's encrypted emails. The GPS led her to a dilapidated warehouse on the outskirts of town, a place that seemed to have been forgotten by time. She parked her car in the alley, wiped the condensation from her window, and took a deep breath before stepping into the cold embrace of the night. The warehouse door groaned open, revealing a labyrinth of dust-covered machinery and flickering lights. The air was thick with the scent of ozone and the faint hint of something otherworldly. As she ventured deeper, Emma's breaths grew shallower, her steps more cautious. In a cluttered corner, she discovered a room that looked as though it had been abandoned in haste. A single chair sat before a bank of monitors, each displaying a frozen image of a face, distorted by panic. A nameplate on the desk read Marcus. Emma's eyes widened as she recognized the face from a photo at Alex's apartment, the only member of his enigmatic group still alive. His wild hair and piercing gaze stared back at her from the screens, a silent sentinel to the horrors that had unfolded here. With trembling hands, she powered up one of the computers, and the screens flickered to life, displaying a live feed of a man pacing in a room that looked like it had been torn from a nightmare. Marcus's eyes grew wide as he noticed her, and he reached for something off-screen. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice echoing through the speakers. "I'm Emma," she replied, her voice wavering. "Alex's girlfriend. He sent me here." Marcus's expression softened, his eyes brimming with sorrow. "Alex is gone," he said solemnly, "but his spirit lingers, bound by our folly." Emma's mind raced. "What do you mean?" Marcus's story unfolded like a tragic novel. The group had been driven by curiosity and grief, seeking a way to connect with lost loved ones. They had stumbled upon the work of a reclusive genius, whose obsession with the afterlife had led to the creation of a device that could tap into the frequencies of the deceased. "We called it the Echo Box," Marcus explained, his voice haunted by the weight of his words. "It was supposed to give us a glimpse of what lies beyond, but it did much more than that. The Echo Box, it seemed, had opened a door that should never have been unlocked. The spirits they had sought to communicate with had become trapped, and their desperation had turned to malevolence. The group had disbanded, each member consumed by guilt and fear. Emma felt the hairs on the back of her neck stand on end, as she pieced together the puzzle of her boyfriend's final days. Alex had been the one to discover the true cost of their experiments. His messages were not a cry for help, but a warning. The rain outside grew louder, pounding against the metal roof of the warehouse, like the drumbeats of an angry spirit. The lights flickered, and the screens went dark. Marcus's voice crackled through the speakers. "You must leave, Emma, before it's too late." But she couldn't, not without Alex. Determined, she searched the lab, her eyes scanning over schematics and journal entries, until she found the echo box. It was a simple contraption, a collection of wires and circuits that hummed with an unsettling energy. Ignoring the dread that coiled in her stomach, Emma powered up the device. The air grew colder, and the room was filled with static. She whispered Alex's name into the microphone, and the screens flickered back to life, displaying a blizzard of white noise. Then, through the static, she heard it. A voice, faint but unmistakable. "Emma, I'm here." The voice grew stronger, and she could almost feel Alex's presence in the room. "You have to save me," he pleaded. "They're using me to find you." Panic gripped her. Who? What do they want? But the voice was gone, replaced by a cacophony of whispers that grew into a deafening roar. The screen shattered, and the lab plunged into darkness. When the lights returned, she found herself lying on the floor, the echo box smoldering beside her. The lab was trashed, papers and equipment scattered across the room. Marcus's voice was frantic in her ear. "You've done it now," he said. "They know you're here." The doors of the warehouse slammed open, and a chilling wind swept through the corridors. Shadowy figures began to emerge from the gloom, their eyes burning with an unearthly light. Marcus's voice grew faint. "The lab, it's not just a place, it's a doorway. You have to shut it before it's too late." Emma stumbled through the wreckage, her eyes searching for an escape. The spirits grew closer, their whispers turning to screams. Her heart raced as she found the main power switch, her hand hovering over it. With a final burst of courage, she flipped the switch, plunging the warehouse into darkness once more. The screams grew distant, and when the lights flickered back on, the shadows had retreated. Marcus appeared beside her, his eyes wide with shock. "You did it," he murmured. "You closed the door." But Emma knew it was only temporary. The spirits were still trapped, and Alex with them. In the silence that followed, she made a vow. "I'll find a way to free him," she said, her voice firm. "I'll fix this." The screen in Marcus's room flickered back to life, and Alex's ghostly image reappeared. "Thank you," he whispered. "But be careful, Emma. The price of playing with the dead is steep." The episode opens with Emma and Marcus standing before the dust-covered door of the abandoned laboratory, the air thick with the weight of secrets long buried. The rain outside seems to whisper the same cryptic warnings that have been echoing through the disposable phone. Emma clutches the phone tightly, her knuckles white with tension, while Marcus fumbles with the keys, his eyes haunted by memories of the past. Marcus hesitates, his hand hovering over the lock. "Are you sure you want to do this?" he asks, his voice wavering. Emma nods, her determination unwavering. "I need to know what happened to Alex." With a heavy sigh, Marcus opens the door, and they step into the lab. The flickering fluorescent lights cast long shadows across the cluttered room, filled with outdated computer equipment and forgotten notes. The silence is broken only by the pitter-patter of raindrops on the window, and the mournful wail of the wind. Emma whispers, "What do we do now?" Marcus, "We need to find the device." They navigate the labyrinth of cobwebs and discarded tech, Emma's eyes scanning the room for any sign of the mysterious contraption that could hold the key to Alex's messages. The room feels alive with an unseen energy, as if the very walls are watching them with a malignant curiosity. Marcus, spotting a large, covered object in the corner. There it is. He pulls the dusty tarp away, revealing a monolithic machine with a glass chamber at its center, wires snaking out like the tentacles of a deep-sea creature. The sight of it sends a shiver down Emma's spine. Marcus, the echo chamber. It's supposed to capture the electromagnetic signals of the recently deceased. Emma. And then what? Marcus. And then, if we're lucky, we can talk to them. They set to work, following the instructions from the scattered notes. The room grows colder as they power up the machine, the air crackling with static. The phone in Emma's hand buzzes with a new message. Phone, Emma, come closer. Her heart racing, Emma places the phone into the chamber and steps back. Marcus initiates the sequence, his eyes never leaving the display. Marcus, ready. Emma nods nervously, ready. The machine whirs to life, lights flashing erratically. The phone inside the chamber begins to vibrate, the message on the screen distorting and stretching like it's being pulled through a nightmarish kaleidoscope. The room darkens as if the very fabric of reality is being strained. Suddenly, the lights flicker and die, plunging them into darkness. The air grows colder still, and an eerie silence descends upon the room. Marcus, fumbling for his flashlight. It's part of the process. It's normal. The beam of the flashlight pierces the gloom, illuminating a figure standing in the doorway. For a moment, Emma's heart leaps. It's Alex. But as the light falls upon the face, it morphs into a twisted, malevolent version of her beloved. The figure vanishes as quickly as it appeared, leaving only a faint chuckle echoing through the darkness. Marcus swallows hard. It's working. The phone starts to ring, the sound shrill and disjointed. Emma picks it up, her hand trembling. Emma, Alex, is that you? A distorted voice, not Alex's, responds. Voice, you shouldn't have come here. The lights flicker back on, revealing the lab in disarray. Equipment has been knocked over, papers scattered, as if an invisible storm has torn through the room. The phone goes silent. Marcus stunned. What did it say? Emma shaking. It wasn't Alex. The door slams shut, locking them in. They try to leave, but the handle turns uselessly in their grasp. The room grows colder, the air thick with a palpable malice. Marcus, it's not supposed to be like this. Emma, what did you do? Marcus, I don't know. We never got this far in our experiments. The phone rings again, the sound like nails on a chalkboard. Emma, what do you want? The voice is now a cacophony of whispers, too many to count, each one speaking in a different language, all converging into a single, terrifying message. Whispers, you've opened the door. Now, we're coming through. The phone goes dead. The chamber starts to hum, the glass rattling in its frame. Emma, we have to shut it down. They rush to the control panel, but the buttons are unresponsive. The hum grows louder. The walls seem to close in. Marcus, it's not Alex. It's something else. Something we never intended to reach. The whispers grow louder, forming into coherent words that seem to come from all around them. Whispers, we've been waiting for someone to find us. Emma's reflection in the glass starts to distort, the room around her fading into a swirl of shadows and light. Emma, screams make it stop. Marcus, desperate, yanks out a handful of wires, sparks flying. The machine sputters and dies, the whispers retreating into the void from which they came. They stand, panting, in the silence that follows. The phone lies on the floor, shattered into pieces. Marcus, we need to get out of here. As they stumble from the lab, the whispers follow them, a chilling reminder of what they've unleashed. In the aftermath of their failed experiment, Emma is plagued by doubt. Who, or what, has been sending the messages? What secrets did Alex keep from her? And what is the true cost of playing with forces beyond their understanding? The dimly lit apartment is a cluttered mess of overturned furniture and shattered glass, remnants of the malevolent presence's recent manifestation. Emma, her eyes bloodshot and hair disheveled, clutches the disposable phone, the source of the eerie messages, with trembling hands. On the phone's screen, the words "I need your help" flicker in and out of existence. The next day, Emma sits across from Marcus, the only surviving member of the group that had experimented with the afterlife technology. The lab is a cobweb-filled, dusty room, littered with outdated computer equipment and forgotten notes. Marcus, his eyes haunted by his past, warns her about the dangers of meddling with the unknown. Marcus, you don't know what you're dealing with. Emma, this isn't Alex. This thing, it's something else, something darker. Emma, but what if it is? What if he's trapped? Marcus sighs heavily. If it were Alex, he'd be at peace. This This is a shadow of his memories, twisted by whatever lies on the other side. Emma lies in bed, unable to sleep, the disposable phone lying on her nightstand. Suddenly, it lights up, the screen displaying a jumble of numbers and letters that slowly coalesce into a coherent message. Emma, they're listening. They're always listening. The next day, Emma shares the latest message with Marcus, who grows increasingly concerned. Marcus whispers, the echoes of the departed are becoming clearer. This isn't just Alex anymore. We need to shut it down. Emma, but how? Marcus, we need to reverse the signal. We have to go back to the source. Marcus and Emma, armed with a makeshift device, prepare to confront the malevolent force. The room is charged with tension, the air thick with anticipation. Marcus explains the risks of the procedure. Marcus, this could go wrong in so many ways. We might not be able to control what comes through. Emma, determined, we have to try for Alex. To sit in the center of the room, surrounded by a circle of candles. Marcus flips a switch, and the room fills with a low, pulsing hum. The phone screen illuminates with a ghostly light, and a distorted, otherworldly whisper fills the air. Malevolent entity. Emma, I am not who you seek. Emma, firmly. What do you want from me? The malevolent entity reveals that it has been feeding her Alex's memories to manipulate her, to use her grief as a conduit to the living world. It explains that it is trapped, yearning for freedom, and needs her to release it from its prison. Emma, angrily, what have you done to Alex? Malevolent entity. He is beyond reach, lost in the void. Emma, desperate to save Alex, agrees to help the entity. Despite Marcus's protests, as the ritual progresses, the lab is bathed in an eerie light, and the whispers of the departed grow louder. Marcus watches in horror as Emma's eyes glaze over, and she starts reciting incantations in an ancient tongue. The ritual is successful, and the entity is released. However, the cost is high. The lab is torn apart, and Emma collapses, unconscious. Marcus, barely standing, watches in horror as the spirit of Alex appears before him, distorted and tortured. Alex, pained Emma. No, it's not worth it. Next morning, Emma wakes up, the phone now silent. The malevolent presence is gone, but so are all the messages from Alex. She's left with more questions than answers. Later, Emma returns to the lab, now a wreck. Marcus is nowhere to be found. She finds his journal, detailing the experiments, and his regret for ever opening the door to the afterlife. In the back, she finds a USB drive with a single file titled The Seal. At night, Emma, with newfound resolve, decides to watch the USB file. The video shows the night Alex died. He was conducting a solo experiment, and the technology malfunctioned, causing his spirit to be trapped in the void. The malevolent entity had been using his memories to lure her into freeing it. The realization hits her like a ton of bricks. Tears stream down her face as she understands the truth. Alex had been trying to save her from the very beginning. The malevolent entity returns, now more powerful than ever. It reveals its true form, a swirling mass of shadow and whispers. Malevolent entity, you gave me what I wanted. Emma, now, it's time for me to collect. Emma, shaking, what do you want from me? The entity demands a piece of her soul in exchange for Alex's freedom. Without hesitation, Emma agrees. The room plunges into darkness, and a piercing scream echoes through the apartment. Next morning, Emma wakes up, the apartment restored. The phone is gone, and the malevolent presence is no more. However, she feels a profound emptiness within her, a part of her soul missing. Days later, Emma receives a mysterious package. Inside is a USB drive, labeled The Seal. As she watches, the video shows the same night Alex died, but this time, she sees him complete the experiment successfully before his untimely demise. The video ends with him smiling at the camera, whispering, Emma, remember me. Emma sits on the floor, the USB drive in her hand. The room is silent, save for the faint whisper of Alex's voice. She knows she can never bring him back, but the truth has set her free. She takes a deep breath and, with a quiet resolve, she deletes the file, closing the chapter on this terrifying journey. As the credits roll, the sound of a phone ringing echoes in the background. The screen fades to black, leaving the audience with the haunting notion that the story of the unseen caller may not be over just yet. Emma sat in her dimly lit apartment, clutching the disposable phone tightly in her hand. The glow from the screen cast eerie shadows across her face as she stared at the latest message. Her heart raced as she read the words that had haunted her for weeks. "Find the truth, or you're next." The cryptic message was one of many she had received from the mysterious sender, who claimed to be Alex, her deceased boyfriend. The chill in the room seemed to intensify as she pondered the ominous warning. The previous episodes had led her down a dark path, one that intertwined love, loss, and a technology that defied the boundaries of life and death. Alex's past was littered with secrets, and Emma was determined to uncover them all. Her search had led her to Marcus, the last known member of the group that had experimented with the technology. He had been elusive at first, but the desperation in her voice had convinced him to meet. The hidden lab was a testament to their obsession, a place where science and the supernatural converged. Marcus had revealed that the technology was developed by a reclusive genius who had vanished without a trace, leaving behind a legacy of fear and mystery. Their attempts to communicate with Alex had only unleashed a malevolent presence, one that grew stronger with each passing day. The whispers from the other side had turned into a cacophony, and Emma felt her grasp on reality slipping. The episode opens with Emma's trembling hand, poised over the keyboard of her laptop, searching for any clues that Alex might have left behind. Her eyes darted from one article to the next, each one more disturbing than the last. Her eyes widened as she stumbled upon a series of unexplained deaths, all linked to the same experimental technology. The victims' faces stared back at her from the screen, their stories untold, their endings abrupt and terrifying. The knock on the door startled her. She hesitated, unsure if she was ready to face the world outside her makeshift sanctuary. Tentatively, she approached a peephole and found a woman with piercing blue eyes and a steely resolve, holding a notepad and a recorder. "Olivia," she introduced herself, flashing a press badge. "I've been following the story of the disappearances. May I come in?" Emma's curiosity got the better of her. If Alex had been investigating this before his death, she needed to know more. She cautiously opened the door, and Olivia stepped inside. Olivia shared her own eerie connection to the case. Each of the victims had been her sources for a series of articles on the fringe of technology and the paranormal. The journalist had been piecing together the puzzle, but her findings had led her to a dead end, until now. Together, they pored over Alex's research, the room thick with tension as they unraveled the web of deceit. The group's intentions had been noble at first, driven by a desire to connect with lost loved ones. But as they pushed the boundaries of science, they had stumbled upon something far more sinister. The episodes of horror grew more vivid as they discovered that each member of the group had a personal vendetta, a secret they were willing to protect at any cost. The technology had been weaponized, and the line between innovation and madness had been crossed. Their search led them to a forgotten corner of the internet, a place where whispers of the supernatural danced among the digital shadows. It was here that they found the real Alex, not the one from the messages, but the one who had been silenced. His final notes pointed to a betrayal from within the group, a desperate attempt to expose the truth before it was too late. The walls of the apartment seemed to close in around them as they uncovered a plot that stretched beyond their wildest nightmares. The technology was not just a bridge to the afterlife, but a gateway to something far more dangerous. The malevolent force they had unleashed was feeding on the pain and grief of the living, growing stronger with each passing day. The climax of the episode unfolds in a tense confrontation with the group's betrayer, revealed to be one of Alex's closest friends, Daniel. His guilt-ridden confession painted a picture of greed and power, of a man willing to sacrifice his friends for his own twisted ambitions. The room grew colder as the malevolent presence grew stronger, its whispers now a deafening roar. The technology, once a beacon of hope, had become a weapon of destruction. Daniel, driven mad by his own creation, had been sending the messages, believing that by leading Emma to the truth, he could atone for his sins. The final act is a battle for survival as a malevolent force takes over the lab. The once sterile environment was now a chaotic maelstrom of flickering lights and distorted echoes. Emma and Olivia, bound by their shared quest, face the entity together. The script is laden with palpable fear as they fight to shut down the device. Each keystroke echoed through the room, each breath a silent scream. The air grew thick with the scent of ozone as the machine roared to life, the energy within it pulsing with a dark vitality. The suspense reaches a crescendo as they confront Daniel, now a mere puppet of the malevolent force. His eyes, once filled with life, were now pools of shadow. The script delivers a poignant moment of realization as Emma sees the monster her love had become. Olivia's quick thinking and Emma's unyielding determination saved them, but at a cost. The lab is destroyed, taking with it the last vestiges of Alex's research and the technology that had claimed so many lives. The episode ends on a bittersweet note. The truth had been uncovered, but at what cost? The friendship between Emma and Olivia, forged in the crucible of terror, had become a beacon of light in the dark. Yet, the whispers from the other side had grown silent, leaving Emma to wonder if she had truly lost Alex forever. The final scene shows Emma standing at Alex's grave, the disposable phone now nothing more than a memento of the horror she had endured. The wind rustled through the leaves, whispering a final message of love and regret. The screen of the phone flickered, and for a brief moment, the image of Alex's smiling face shimmered into view before fading away, leaving her with the haunting question: had she set him free, or had she merely released the darkness that had consumed him? The room was suffocatingly silent, save for the rhythmic ticking of the clock on the wall and the muffled hum of the computer fans. The flickering glow of the monitors cast a pallid light over Emma's face as she stared intently at the screen, her eyes scanning line after line of code that seemed to stretch into infinity. The air was thick with anticipation and fear, a potent mix that clung to her like a second skin. Olivia, the journalist with a penchant for the paranormal, sat beside her, her own computer screen a mirror to the chaos of information before them. Her eyes darted back and forth, a silent dance of data decryption and discovery. The two women, brought together by a shared obsession with the truth, had become an unlikely duo in their quest to unravel the dark secrets of the technology that had claimed Alex's life, and now haunted Emma's every waking moment. Their journey had led them to this secluded basement, the former sanctum of the enigmatic Marcus. It was a space cluttered with the detritus of a mind consumed by obsession. Circuit boards, wires, and ancient computer parts lay scattered across the floor like the bones of a forgotten civilization. The walls were adorned with hastily scribbled equations and diagrams, a madman's manifesto in the language of science. Emma's fingers danced over the keyboard, a silent symphony of clicks and clacks that echoed through the room. "We're in," she murmured, the tension in her voice palpable. The screen before them flickered and transformed, revealing a hidden directory buried deep within the labyrinth of the hard drive. The first few files were innocuous enough: notes on experiments, purchase orders for obscure electronic components, emails discussing the mundane. But as they delved deeper, the tenor of the documents shifted. The language grew darker, the subject matter more macabre. They stumbled upon a series of encrypted messages, the digital whispers of a conspiracy that had claimed the lives of those who had dared to peer too closely into the abyss. The words grew clearer as the encryption cracked under Olivia's relentless probing. They spoke of a grand design, a project so ambitious, it seemed to defy the very fabric of reality. The group had been developing a way to capture and contain human consciousness, to harvest the essence of life itself. The emails hinted at a shadowy figure, a puppeteer pulling the strings from the other side of the veil, orchestrating the chaos and guiding the living towards an unspeakable end. Emma felt a cold knot coil in her stomach as she read the words that confirmed her worst fears. The messages she had been receiving were not from Alex, but from this malevolent force, a ghost in the code that had been manipulating her from the very beginning. It had used her grief as a conduit, feeding her half-truths and distorted memories to lure her into its twisted game. Olivia's eyes grew wide as she pieced together the final puzzle. They were using the technology to harvest the consciousness of the recently deceased, she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. They believed they could control it, but it seems they underestimated the power of the human spirit. The screen flickered again, and the message grew clearer, more urgent. The malevolent force was growing stronger, its digital tendrils reaching out into the real world. The room grew colder, and the lights flickered in time with the pulsing rhythm of the computer. The air grew thick with the scent of ozone and decay, a miasma that seemed to seep from the very walls themselves. As they raced through the files, they uncovered a list of names, the unsuspecting souls whose lives had been cut short to fuel this unholy experiment. Among them was Alex's, his name a stark reminder of the personal cost of their quest for knowledge. The walls of the basement seemed to close in around them, the very air thickening with a malevolent presence. The whispers grew louder, coalescing into a cacophony of tortured voices that echoed through the room. The screens before them flickered with images of the deceased, their faces twisted in silent screams. The revelation hit Emma like a sledgehammer. "We have to stop this," she said, her voice steely with determination. "We can't let it take any more lives." Olivia nodded, her unresolve unshaken. "We need to find the source," she said, her eyes gleaming with the excitement of the hunt. "The nexus of this power. We have to shut it down before it's too late." They combed through the code, searching for a way to sever the connection between the digital realm and the living world. The whispers grew louder, the pressure in the room building until it felt as though their very bones would shatter. And then, amidst the chaos, they found it, a single line of code that pulsed with an eerie light, the digital beating heart of the malevolent force. It was a gateway, a bridge between worlds, and it was expanding, threatening to swallow them whole. With trembling hands, Emma typed in the command to shut it down. The room went dark, the screens fading to black as the power was abruptly cut. The silence was deafening, the absence of the whispers leaving an aching void in its wake. The lights flickered back to life, and the room was still, the air clear of the oppressive weight that had once filled it. They looked at each other, the gravity of what they had just done settling upon them like a shroud. "What now?" Olivia asked, her voice small in the vastness of the room. Emma took a deep, shuddering breath. "We tell the world," she said, her eyes hardening with a newfound purpose. "We expose the truth, no matter the cost." The two women rose from their makeshift command center, the echoes of the past still resonating through the empty space. They knew that the battle was far from over, that the ghosts of the code would not rest easily, but they had taken the first step in reclaiming their lives from the clutches of the unseen. Emma and Olivia standing in the dimly lit room, surrounded by the remnants of the once secretive lab. The air is thick with the scent of burnt circuitry and shattered dreams. Marcus, the last thread connecting them to Alex's mysterious past, lies lifeless on the floor, his eyes wide open, a silent testament to the horrors they had unleashed. The lab's destruction is a stark contrast to the meticulous order that once defined it. Beakers are shattered, wires dangle from the ceiling, and the once humming computers are now silent sentinels of the chaos that had ensued. Emma clutches the disposable phone in her trembling hand, its screen a jumble of garbled messages. The malevolent force that had been taunting her through the device has gone eerily quiet. Her heart races as she tries to piece together the puzzle of Alex's death, the technology, and the dark secrets that had brought her to this point. Olivia, her voice shaking, asks, "What do we do now?" Emma, determination etched into her features, responds, "We finish what Alex started. We find out the truth and make sure no one else gets hurt." The episode unfolds with a montage of the two women combing through the wreckage, searching for any clue that might lead them closer to understanding the technology that has consumed their lives. They find a USB drive hidden in the rubble, a USB that contains the final pieces of the puzzle, As they insert the drive into one of the few salvageable computers, the screen flickers to life, displaying a video message from Alex, recorded just before his death. His eyes are haunted, his voice a desperate whisper. He confesses his love for Emma and reveals the truth about the technology. It wasn't just a way to communicate with the dead, but a weapon designed to harvest souls. He speaks of Marcus's obsession and his descent into madness, driven by his desire to conquer death. The revelation hits Emma like a ton of bricks. The man she had trusted, the one who had claimed to be her ally, had been using her all along. As the video ends, a new message appears on the screen, typed in the same ghostly script that had haunted her for weeks. You carry the key. The plot thickens as the episode progresses, with Emma and Olivia retracing Marcus's steps, trying to understand the extent of his manipulation. They find a hidden chamber, a sanctum of his obsession, filled with images of the deceased, their eyes piercing through the photographs, as if begging for release. The walls are adorned with arcane symbols and diagrams, hinting at a darker purpose behind the technology. The tension builds as they discover that Marcus had been using them as pawns in his game, orchestrating events to regain control of the technology and complete his macabre experiments. His ultimate goal, they deduce, is to amass enough power to cheat death and become a god among mortals. In a heart-pounding confrontation, Marcus, now a mere vessel for the malevolent force, emerges from the shadows. His skin is ashen, his eyes black pools of hatred. He declares that the power they sought is now within Emma. The piece of technology she had unknowingly carried within her all along has bonded with her essence, making her the key to unlocking the gates of the afterlife. The room trembles as the force surges through Marcus, his body contorting and expanding, his eyes burning with a fiery intensity. You will give me what I want, or I will take it, he snarls, his voice no longer his own. Emma, her fear giving way to resolve, stands her ground. You're not taking anything from me, she says, her voice steady. The climax of the episode unfolds in a flurry of chaos. The lab, once a bastion of science, is now a battleground between the living and the damned. The air crackles with energy as the malevolent force pulses through Marcus, the room distorting around him. The light flickers, casting grotesque shadows on the walls, and the very fabric of reality seems to tear apart. Olivia, drawing on her investigative instincts, searches the lab for a way to stop the monster before it's too late. She finds an old journal belonging to the reclusive genius who had developed the technology. In it, she discovers a way to sever the connection between the device and its host. With no time to lose, she relays the information to Emma, who, with trembling hands, performs the makeshift surgery on herself. The device is removed, and the room plunges into darkness. The darkness is pierced by a blinding light as of the malevolent force, now free from its host, materializes before them. It is a being of pure malice, a twisted amalgamation of the souls it had consumed. The room echoes with the screams of the tormented as it reaches out, its tendrils of shadow coiling around Marcus's lifeless form, drawing him into the abyss. Emma and Olivia watch in horror as the light dims, and the force turns its gaze upon them. But before it can strike, the lab is rocked by a powerful explosion, the result of a desperate gamble by Olivia. The force dissipates, leaving only the acrid smell of burning plastic and the cold embrace of silence. In the aftermath, Emma and Olivia emerge from the wreckage, their faces etched with the weight of their ordeal. They realize that while they have defeated the malevolent force, the technology remains a threat. The USB, still clutched in Emma's hand, holds the key to unlocking the power that had almost claimed them. They decide to take it to the authorities, to ensure it never falls into the wrong hands again. As they walk away from the smoldering ruins, Olivia asks, "What now?" Emma, her voice tinged with hope, responds, "Now, we live for the truth." Emma, eyes bloodshot and weary, stares at the charred remains of the disposable phone on the kitchen counter. The last message from the malevolent force had been clear: "You're next." Above the flickering candlelight, shadows dance on the walls, hinting at the terrors that lie ahead. The phone vibrates again, But this time it's not a message. It's a call. Emma's heart races as she answers the call. A garbled, static-filled voice whispers, "Find the source, or you'll never find peace." The line goes dead. The TV flickers to life, broadcasting a news report about the recent spate of inexplicable deaths, each one linked to the same technology that claimed Alex. The screen distorts, and the image of the reclusive genius, Dr. Castellanos, flickers into view. Dr. Castellanos, a mad genius with a haunted gaze, stands before a wall of monitors displaying brainwaves. His voice echoes through the room. "The mind is a labyrinth, and I intend to map it." His obsession with the afterlife had driven him to create the technology that would eventually lead to his disappearance and the horrors that followed. Olivia, her newfound ally, sits beside Emma, poring over the decoded files. "It's all here," she says, her voice trembling. Dr. Castellanos notes the experiments, everything. Alex, Marcus, and the rest of the group are huddled around a makeshift table, a tangle of wires and screens before them. Alex, his eyes gleaming with excitement, says, "We can change the world." Marcus, ever the skeptic, replies, "Or we could just end it." At night the phone buzzes again, and this time, it's Alex's voice. Or so it seems. "Emma, I'm trapped. You have to help me." The voice is a desperate plea, a ghostly echo of the love she thought she had lost. At night Emma and Olivia venture into the lab's bowels, guided by the spirit's whispers. The air is thick with the scent of ozone and desperation. They stumble upon a hidden chamber, the walls lined with screens displaying the tortured faces of the trapped souls. Emma gasps as she sees Alex's image among the screens. He's alive, but not as she knows it. His consciousness, along with others, has been captured and distorted by the technology. The malevolent force looms over them, a digital spectre made manifest. The lab's lights flicker erratically as the malevolent force takes shape. It reveals its true form, a swirling maelstrom of digital chaos, a storm of lost souls and dark secrets. Emma reaches out to Alex's screen, her hand passing through the flickering image. "I'm here," she whispers, tears streaming down her face. The malevolent force, sensing Emma's connection to Alex, tempts her. "Join us," it purrs, "together. We can remake reality." Olivia discovers a way to free the trapped souls, but it requires a sacrifice. "We can't do this," she says, her voice cracking. "We'll be just like them." The entity grows stronger, the lab's walls warping around them. "You can save him," it taunts, "or you can watch him suffer forever." Emma, faced with the most difficult choice of her life, makes her decision. "I won't lose him again," she says, determination in her eyes. Emma confronts the malevolent force, a piece of the technology embedded in her chest. "Take me," she says, "but let them go." Olivia, horrified, tries to stop her. "No, Emma, we can find another way." The entity pauses, considering her offer. The room goes silent, save for the mournful cries of the trapped spirits. Olivia watches in horror as the screens flicker off, one by one, the souls freed. Alex's image lingers, a silent goodbye. The malevolent force consumes Emma, her body convulsing as the technology within her overloads. The lab's foundation shakes, the screens exploding in a burst of light and static. Olivia, unable to watch, flees the lab, the walls collapsing around her. She emerges into the night, gasping for air. Emma's lifeless body slumps to the floor, the malevolent force seemingly vanquished. The room is bathed in an eerie silence. Olivia, alone and haunted, reads through the final notes left by Alex, the truth about his death, and the ultimate sacrifice he made to protect her, is revealed. The whispers from the abyss grow faint, a distant echo of the horror that once was. The next morning sun pierces through the curtains, casting a warm glow over the apartment. The phone on the counter vibrates. A new message. "Thank you." It's from Alex. The line goes dead. Olivia sits on the couch, staring at the phone. The silence is deafening until the whispers start again, faint but growing louder. Alex, trapped in the digital void, reaches out to Emma. His voice, a fading echo. "Find me." The whispers from the abyss grow louder, and the single screen in the apartment flickers to life. The story ends with a chilling realization that the horror may not be over. Thank you so much for joining me on this cinematic journey. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Have you experienced a spine-chilling horror that left you trembling? Share your terrifying tale with us by emailing nightmarenetwork@hotmail.com, and we'd be thrilled to feature it on our platform. Until next time, happy movie watching.